Hi, it's Lemon from Canada's Drag Race Season 1, and I'm here with Now Magazine.
Thank you guys endlessly for everything. I'm forever grateful. Now sashay away. We love you.
Ugh, I'm gonna be bitter forever.
Start off by telling me how you became a drag queen.
I mean, I've always been a performer, and I've always been, obsessed with all of the things that make up drag. I loved playing dress up as a little kid, and I, was obsessed with Pocahontas's wig, and, I just love self-expression, and I love queer identity, and so drag kind of just was like the kind of thing that like I was always kind of had a little, that seems so fun, that seems so exciting. And then when I was living in New York, I was broke as a bad word, and I needed to make $1, and I saw a drag competition that had a cute little prize. And I just thought like, oh, maybe I'll enter it, I'll win, it'll be so easy, no big deal. And as soon as I, started preparing for it, I was like, oh, this is hard as hell. Like, this is really intense. And I just fell in love with it. I'm a Virgo, so I love being in charge. And I kind of just needed like full, complete artistic control over everything. So now I have it.
So where in Canada are you from originally, and how did you end up in New York City?
I'm from Toronto, and just outside of Toronto, and I grew up here my whole life. And on my 19th birthday, I moved to New York City to go to school there, and I went to the Ailey School and did 2 years there in a scholarship program and studied ballet and modern dance and contemporary and all sorts of things.
Is that why you did Jojo Siwa in the Snatch Game and then the Jean Benet on the pageant? Right?
I love Jojo Siwa. She was so cute on Dance Mom. She was such a sweet little angel. Dance really has just like shaped the person that I have become. Dance has been such a big part of my life since I was a teenager, and even before that.
Well, tell me a bit about your approach to, you're a competitor. You've grown up dancing, competing. What was your approach to going into Drag Race?
I was very prepared, I had mentally prepared myself to like go home first, and I had also prepared myself to make it to the end. And I think I just was, I've been preparing myself since I was like 10, doing, question and answers with the judges and stuff, so.
How did you feel about your elimination? Because, it's getting down to the wire. So for some people, it was probably a surprise. It could have gone, you never know. At this point, it's like, who knows where it's going to go. So how did you feel about going out this way?
I just like everyone else, I was ready for anything to happen. I was surprised, but at the same time, we're getting to the top 4 now. We're at the top 4, and like the talent is astronomical in this bus. You know what I mean? The talent is jumping out of the screen. So am I upset that I went home? Sure. But am I really proud and really excited for the top 4? Absolutely. I think it's a catch-22 because they are so talented, and I'm so happy for them. And I was also sad to go, but like, I'll be fine.
Tell me a bit about what you learned about yourself and drag on the show, especially now watching it back after recording it or filming it last year.
I think the main thing I learned was just that, truly diving in and having no fear about things is like the best way to handle yourself. And truly, I think that is what led to my success on the show, is because I was just so ready to make a fool of myself and completely embarrass myself and go so balls to the wall insane that I could have been, the worst. And I think that's what made it good, was that I just was so committed to being insane. So for Jojo Siwa and things like that, I think that was, a big learning curve for me. I've never done, anything like that, but you just have to dive in deep. Like, you can't tiptoe around the idea is you just have to serve it all the time. I think that was a great lesson.
Can you talk about the dynamic on the show with the other queens? Because I wonder, having lived in New York and coming from out of town, do you feel like that affected the dynamic, especially with this kind of like heavy Toronto, these people who really know each other kind of vibe?
For sure. I think almost all the queens knew of each other, and they almost all had worked together at one point or another. And yes, the Toronto girls had worked together 1,000 times. And I was kind of, an outsider in that way. I never worked with or met any of these queens except Tainomi when I was 18. I did backup for her, but I wasn't even a drag queen at that time. Far from it, in fact. So I think, there was just a level of like unfamiliarity with me. And I think that the queens, were rooting for their friends from back home, as I probably would have done too. So there definitely ended up being some tension, but it's all resolved now. We're all good Judies. And you know what? Like, I think that if anything, just pushed me to work even harder and prove everyone wrong.
Talk a bit about your runway critiques, because the sort of general consensus, it seemed, was that you were really excelling in the acting and kind of improv challenges and winning those. But then the runway came and they would be like, the denim runway, they ripped you. They basically said, wear a whole new outfit. Can you talk a bit about, like, I guess the continuous thing was like padding, silhouette, like that kind of stuff. Was it a conscious thing that is that not part of who you are as Lemon, or what did you make of those critiques?
Yeah, I just think that, personally, I think that drag has evolved past the point of, the classic drag silhouette being one thing. And I personally, when I see women all the time, I don't think of them as less than or less beautiful because they have, the shape of their bodies are different. And some, mostly people online, but some people were saying, well, they're critiquing your drag body, not your real body. But I think, it almost gives permission for people to look at real bodies and think, these kind of thoughts. But I will say that the judges are asked to critique us and they're asked to better us. And I think, part of their job is to really break down every little tiny detail of every single girl. And at the end of the day, I signed myself up to get critiqued. So I can't be upset about any of it. And I think that I was able to, share my piece with it, and that's all I can do.
Any final thoughts on the state of the world, state of drag, state of Canadian drag?
Just like, wow, Canada's Drag Race really did that. Like, what a good season of Drag Race.